So I want to start things off with the first episode here by saying that the very first line in the episode 1 is boobs.
Yeah.
And the second line is boobs. That sets the tone. That if you reach this far in the podcast and if you made it, that should be the hook. Is just That's the episode 1. That's how the anime starts off. What up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Crunchy Roulette. My name is Lotto.
And I am Nordy. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. We have a very interesting one for you today. Isn't that right?
Oh, baby. And we found it in an interesting way, too. Kind of a nostalgic way for me, actually.
Yeah, why don't you walk us through that? Well, let's take a step back. Like, why don't you walk us through the basics of the normal premise and then why this one's just a little bit different?
The point of this podcast is, or the name of the podcast, I should say, is it's random. So by the roulette side of it, we randomly get an anime. If it's like lists online that we choose random numbers or random recommendations we get for something that we'd never look at. And the rules are really it's one rule that neither one of us have seen it before. And so far it's been an interesting ride. In the first episode I said that expect some stuff that we hate, and we've definitely run into that so far. And,
no, everything's been amazing. I can guarantee to everyone listening that Nori and I have watched 100% of every episode of every anime we've ever watched for this podcast. And I challenge all of you to prove us wrong.
Yeah. As our Crunchyroll accounts get hacked into. Damn it.
So let's kick things off really quick. So fair warning to anybody jumping into this or have never heard any of this. This is definitely a standout anime as a NSFW. It's flagged on Crunchyroll as an 18+. It's got 6 different content advisory warnings, which I've never seen on an anime. Even some of the more obscure ones, I've never seen 6 different categories of content warnings, but this one had it.
Oh, baby, does it ever?
Yeah. And I'm not sure, we'll talk about it a little bit, some of the obvious ones that stand out, but I'm not sure it's as bad as like the content warnings say. So that said, the anime we're bringing you today is Space Dandy. And how did you actually find this one? Because I don't think you actually said how you found this one.
So there is an Australian comedic musician named Tom Cardy, and he came out with a new album, several months ago, and the main song from the album is called Transcendental Cha-Cha, and I was not aware that it had a music video, but somebody put out an AMV using Space Dandy to go along with Transcendental Cha-Cha.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed the music video for whomever put it out. I'll hopefully Lotto will take the time to put a link on here.
Noted.
Yeah. But I love the song, and the video got me interested enough to, put Space Dandy on our roster, because I've seen the thumbnail before, but his face made me not want to ever click on the thumbnail. So
the pompadour wasn't impressive.
Exactly.
I mean, it's making a comeback, right? Because of Frankie.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean that's awesome. That, like we said, it's a pretty random way of finding an anime, but we'll take it. So hey, I'll hand it off to you to do the synopsis if you want to walk us through that, and then we'll jump right into it.
Sounds good. It is Space Dandy is a dandy in space. This dreamy adventurer with a to die for pompadour travels across the galaxy in search of aliens no one has ever laid eyes upon. Each new species he discovers earns him a hefty reward, but this dandy has to be quick on his feet because it's first come, first served.
I will say that is the most uninspiring synopsis that I've ever seen on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the anime justice. It really just what you want to do if you're on Crunchyroll is you look at the synopsis, then you pan over to the right, and that's where you see the content warning, and then you're like, yes, this is the anime for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't pay any attention to it. The synopsis has nothing to do. I mean, it's like 1% of the plot,
Exactly.
if you can even call it a plot.
Right. The plot is kind of just hijinks. It's 100% comedy, spoofing like Harlock, spoofing Gintama, like it's
Cowboy
just
Bebop and
oh
everything else,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
And I have a note on that. So let me before I jump into that, what was your first impression? Obviously, you were like, well, okay, pompadour and silly anime, but what
Yeah.
else stood out to you as it's like, well, maybe we should try this for Crunchy Roulette?
It was just the off the wall characters, and the protagonist was this odd mix of like a useless idiot, but then also figuring stuff out at the same time. Which normally the useless idiot is just like useless idiot, and it's up to the straight man, his robot assistant who tries to bring like
Keep 'em in
calmness.
line.
Yeah. Usually it's the straight man who's like, here's the obvious answer, but then the straight man does all this stupid stuff too, and Space Dandy usually actually figures it out first, which is different. Yeah, I know we have younger people that haven't heard the term straight man before, but that is just like the supposed normal calm person to
the by the book kind of guy.
Exactly, to kind of offset the wackiness of the comedic guy.
Yeah, well, when you sent me this anime for the first time, I thought you were joking about wanting to do this for the podcast because my first impression is I saw the cover and I saw Space Dandy and just the colorful weird anime, and I was like, what did you send me right now? And I was like, it's like I don't think we've ever found an anime this way, and I was like, okay. Then I talked to you, and you're like, no, we should seriously do this one, and I said, okay. I didn't hesitate. I was like, let's just do it, sure. So we added it to the queue for sure.
Excellent. Now we finally hit it.
Let me just offer some keynotes here. Now, Ian and I have always talked about how we may or may not research the information ahead of time. I actually do a little bit of digging. I like to know a little bit about the anime and the creators and things like that. So it turns out that the creator of this show, this is made for Adult Swim, 2014 anime, made for Adult Swim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the creator is Shinichiro Watanabe. Do you know what he is famous for?
No.
He is famous for creating Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and also the new series Lazarus. He is also the creator of Space Dandy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like serious overtone, complete wackiness, and then I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen of Lazarus, it's like trying to find its lane. Like, is it serious or is it kind of wacky? Like, I don't know.
Well, it turns out that the parallels between his anime, I mean, I don't know. Basically, there's a chance that when he creates anime, that the universe that they're all in is kind of the same.
No.
There's even references and nods to Cowboy Bebop in this anime. We get one in the end of episode 3 that I'll bring up, but it's definitely sort of a nod to that world. So if you see parallels and now if you watch it again, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I can see it now.
Well, I totally see it with the way that he moves. Like the animation movement, especially with the main character, like has so many similarities to Spike, but instead of fighting, he's like running away.
So did you know that there was like 70 different artists associated with this anime?
I had no idea, but I can see it.
It was a huge project, and so there's like 70 different ones, and the art direction they were provided was kind of freeform. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do in their own artistic style, as long as it kind of matched the vibes. And then same with the music. The music the creator basically said, okay, you can do pretty much whatever you want, but it has to stick to like the pre-1984 anime style, which
Right.
is why you'll hear a lot of the music is very old school.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I looked up on this is when did it come out?
Right.
Because it had like such this old feel to it as like storyline and characters and dialogue, but then at the same time the animation itself was clean,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, so it's like it I was trying to figure out like who was spoofing who, with like
Yeah.
especially with Gintama, like, because they have all their weird aliens and everything. And
Hmm.
I was shocked to see that Gintama came out way before this thing.
Yeah.
Because like, as we've seen, like, the budget for anime, has just gone down and down and down and down.
Yeah. It's really been sad.
Yeah. So this one, especially with like the restrained imagination that they allowed their artists for creating the various aliens was just phenomenal.
It
Like,
was. It was
yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree with you. First impressions of the animation were just, my God, it's
yeah,
refreshing. So refreshing to see an anime actually put in the effort.
right.
And it goes to exactly what you're saying. It's just like there's so much crap right now, just bombarded. Every season is just like you may get one diamond in the rough, and the rest are just like, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is to your point, it really, highlights like when an artist is able to do what they want and encouraged to do what they want within like a very limited restriction of like stick with this theme, but the rest is up to you. Like the creation is just off the charts and
Yeah.
the quality is off the charts because I guarantee you these people like had fun doing this,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First impressions.
First impressions, like with the art and everything, like we said, just fantastic. The dialogue is just like it's a comedy.
It's nonsensical. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not. It's not
abs-
part of. It's not the point.
yeah.
The
The
story,
point
the
is to
plot.
laugh. Yeah,
Yeah. It's none of that is the point. If you're trying to watch it for a story and yeah, there's like an underlying like small percentage story to keep it on a timeline, I guess. But the reality is, it's just like don't take it too seriously. If you go in, just go along for the ride.
yeah, yeah. Don't. I mean, the first episode was very clear of like we do not do continuity here. Like
Yeah.
it's just going to be a shit show.
Yeah, it pretty much was. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I want to start things off with the first episode here by saying that the very first line in the episode 1 is boobs.
yeah.
And the second line is boobs.
I,
That
the
that sets the tone. That if you reach this far in the podcast and if you made it, that should be the hook. Is just
yeah.
that's the episode 1. That's how the anime starts off.
Yeah, they're very clear about the messaging.
Yeah. They know what their target audience is. They know what
Yeah.
kind of story they're trying to tell, the characters they want to build, the world that they've built around it. They kick it off strong.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me just kind of walk you through the first take. So again, spoiler alert, we're just going to kind of go over what we saw and what we think. But again, it's nothing that serious. So you're introduced to Space Dandy very quickly, the main character, and his whole first introduction before you even see him on screen is again boobs. Boobs? I can't believe people are boob men. I'm more of an ass man. That's how he starts off the anime. The first 10 seconds, and that's how you're introduced to Space Dandy.
Oh, and what I love it too was also the fourth wall breaking that they had
Oh, yes.
with the robot assistant QT.
Yeah, QT. Yeah.
Yeah, cutie. Where the narration was just like, yeah, the universe is real big, and there's alien hunters who try to find new life, and
Yeah.
then QT like does the fourth wall breaking of like, well, that wasn't a very good introduction to the world.
Yeah, the whole prologue was like, hey, there's a lot of aliens, it's a big galaxy, and that's it. That's the whole prologue.
Yeah. But
So they after that, yeah, the robot is like, we better get to this story or something. And
yeah,
so they basically say, okay, well, what do we want to do? And Space Dandy is like, we need to go to boobies.
yeah. It's like he used the veiled requirement of why he wants to go to boobies as to that's obviously the place to go
I mean,
to
yeah,
find new aliens.
yeah.
And
And that's his purpose in life. He clearly
yeah,
conveys that. So just to add some clarity here, boobies is a restaurant or
yeah,
a restaurant as they put it in the anime,
yeah.
and
Oh, it's
it's a
AKA Hooters.
it's a space Hooters is really what
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
exactly. uh,
and it's his favorite place in the world to go. And of course,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, where else would he go to find new alien life? And but his favorite place in the world, you know.
And that is where the narrator kicks back in and starts talking about the popular restaurant chain of boobies and gets into details about restaurants and everything. And then and QT
Spends more
pops in.
time on that than the actual prologue.
Yeah. And QT kicks back in. And he's like, says exactly that. He's like, why do we spend more time on this?
It's amazing.
Funny thing is, it's like when he's in there, here's all these booby waitresses and all that, and there's like 98% of them are human. There's a couple that are not. But then you still have like all these aliens who are like nothing but tentacles or just made up of balloons and like all these weird freaking aliens, but they're all still getting like shy and rosy cheeked and everything when you have the waitress like bending over. And that always confused me, like throughout all sci-fi of like hot earth women, and defining features like boobs and butts and everything are still hot, even if you're, of a different species that has, completely different genetics.
You're not supposed to question things,
Yeah.
Morty. You're doing exactly what we said not to do, which is like to try to overanalyze you're going too deep in the weeds here. Just accept the fact that the NSFW tag and the content advisory warning kicks off strong is all we're gonna say. I mean that the fan service in this is just very blatant. It's just nonstop.
Over the
and
top.
It's way over the top. It's way over the top. And that's the whole point. I mean, Space Dandy's whole mission in life is really just to fund his need to constantly afford going to boobies is really
Right.
it's everything. So the whole, to circle back to the plot, he hunts for new alien life to register the aliens at the alien registration center. And when you register aliens, you get money for rare aliens and registering them into some category or whatever. And they don't really explain, the whole details of that particular job or whatever. It's kind of like a bounty hunting, there's the Cowboy Bebop element.
Right.
But for just identifying new life.
Yeah, they just explain that it exists, not why it exists or, what purpose does it actually do. It's just there and you get money. And that's all you need to know, which, that's kind of from the perspective of Space Dandy, because he's like, oh, this is how I can make money and not have to work like a 8-to-5 job.
Yep, exactly. They made it to boobies. You get all the fan service aside. They're running around. They're literally they're scanning aliens for new life to see if any of them qualify. And they see one kind of that stands out to them. It's like this otter-looking cat alien thing.
Exactly. With a particular marking on his cheek.
And we're introduced to this new character who is taking candid shots with his phone of all the girls.
Yeah, exactly. At all the appropriate angles. That
Yes, and you
that would
can
get you
use your
arrested.
imagination there, but
Yeah.
he's got all the angles covered. So they walk up to they say that one stands out. Let's go check him out. And they walk up to his table and they kind of scare him off a little bit. He's up to no good, and he thinks that's why they're up. They chase him down, right?
Exactly. They chase him down, catch him. The whole time he's thinking that he's being like chased out by employees because of him taking inappropriate pictures.
Yeah.
And of course, Space Dandy thinks he's running away because it's a unique alien that he's got to catch him. Does a bunch of property damage, and then
Yes.
finally catches him.
They never addressed that, right? Yeah.
No,
So
yeah, no, they
we
didn't.
won't address it either.
Yeah, and then a waitress gives Space Dandy a sticker on his cheek, and then he realizes it's the same marking on this cat otter. And they were mistaken, but they still take him onto the ship.
Yes.
And is a crew member that's in the intro. So that's how they meet their new crew member named Meow.
Meow.
Yeah,
Clever.
which
He looks like a cat, so they name him Meow.
yeah. Although he continues to deny that he is a cat.
Yeah. Yeah. Throughout the show, at least throughout the
Exactly.
first 3 episodes that we've seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they take him aboard the ship, and because they try to turn him in for to
A bounty. Yeah.
the bounty,
Which is rejected.
which is totally rejected because
Yeah.
it turns out he's a Beetlejuician.
Yeah.
and he's not rare at all. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. There's like 10 billion or something like that.
Yeah. So the premise here, the way they transition into the next step of the episode is essentially like it turns out that Meow may or may not know where some rare aliens exist, and convinces Space Dandy and QT to basically follow him to some unknown destination.
Yeah, let him
where,
be on the ship and part of the crew because he's, telling him a planet of unknown monsters.
Yes, planet of unknown monsters.
Oh, they introduce villains that are just out of nowhere. It's this
Yes.
like gorilla man, dressed up all grandiose, and this is like where the Harlock, joke is. And then they're part of some like Gogol Empire, and the king there, which is on the screen, is this like flaming skull guy, and he's just like, you have to capture Space Dandy because he holds the key to making the Gogol Empire the ultimate force in the universe.
The ship that he's on. So the reference that I got from the they call him Dr. Gel, and he's like this sentient ape. And I think that they were trying to do a nod to Planet of the Apes because they had the Statue of Liberty head at the
with a
head
ball
of the
gag.
ship with a ball gag in its mouth. If you're not watching this anime now, go watch it now.
Yeah.
But along the storyline, when they're talking about like these characters and the Skogul Empire and everything, like the narrator comes on and says, "Oh, by the way, yeah, we forgot to tell you, there's a whole galactic war between the Gogol Empire and the Jicro Empire or whatever." And that's like the whole thing. That's the whole, hey, by the way, there's a war going on. Okay, back to Dandy.
Yeah. Exactly. Part of the glossing over of the world.
Just to offer context, so they flash back to Dandy, and the Meow is like, yeah, we know where to go. We got to get there quick. And he like smashes the warp button, and the warp button is broken. And of course, because why would it work?
Exactly.
And there's all sorts of nonsense that they get into, but basically they end up in a random planet location that coincidentally turns out to be the planet he was thinking of.
Yeah, or so he says.
So he says, yeah.
And Dandy and Meow go down to the planet. It's giant monsters. Dandy's like, holy crap, what are we doing here? And Meow says, oh no, they're very tame, and goes up to pet one, and which just slaps the shit out of him. And
understatement for sure. Yeah. This is a really good time to point out that the animation that we talked about in the beginning here really comes to light. The sound effects and animation that they put into just them running away from these giant alien creatures on this planet, amazing. The ground is exploding and just erupting, and just like the the running and the everything, just everything about it just felt so good.
I know. It's like high quality animation used on the dumbest comedy I could think of. It's just glorious.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, there's no getting away from the monsters on this planet because they're just getting progressively bigger and bigger. The monster that was chasing them got eaten by a bigger one, which got eaten by a bigger one, which was then fighting another one somehow. And
yes, so they're running away from a bunch of these aliens. Dandy decides he's got to fight back because there's no escaping, and he knocks down like this giant cliff on purpose, of course, because
that's what he says. Yeah.
And this giant robot, this random robot, just appears out of the cliffside.
It was clearly a crystalline golem, sir, not a robot.
Yes, it just starts fighting the alien, and
Right.
and then there's just like no hope. And then he has an idea, right?
Yeah, he has his secret weapon. Last, ace up the sleeve move. He tells QT to activate it on the ship, and once QT turns it on, he's like, "What did I just turn on?" And he's like, Dandy just says like, "Oh yeah, that's our self-destruct. It'll blow up the whole planet." To which QT's like, "Great. How do we get out?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't think about that."
Yeah, I guess we all die, and it just cue somber music. I'll look to the sky, followed by the entire planet exploding in glorious animation.
Yeah.
And then end credits. They even put a giant "the end" at the end of the episode.
To which, after the credits, they go to like next episode, and QT's like, "Wait, I thought we all died."
Oh man, I missed that.
Oh no, you gotta wait for the after credits.
Oh,
man.
I gotta go watch the credits again. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Why did I not watch the credits to the end? Okay,
For
pause
shame.
here while I go watch it.
For shame.
I know. I really hope that was what they created as a pilot. I want to be in the room when they are pitching this idea and they're like, no, we got this idea and here's the pilot episode, and if it never comes to fruition, it's season end.
Yeah. Oh, but it is like also just like I said, the perfect way to show the audience that they have no fucks to give about pretending there's going to be any kind of continuity from episode to episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because they all die in episode 1. And then, okay, next week on Space Dandy.
Yeah. Episode 2. It kicks off strong with they literally walk into the Alien Registration Center.
Yeah.
This is Dandy, Meow, and QT. And they're basically turning in the alien that they were running from. Bits and pieces of it. Yeah. Whatever was left of it. In a little jar, and they were turning it into the employee there, which we'll introduce her later here.
Who's in the intro.
But, yes, who is in the intro. That's important.
Yeah.
Tells us that they get credits.
Yeah, exactly.
But they turn in the alien, and it turns out as expected.
Yeah, it's rejected. They already have it on file. Get the hell out of here.
And they launched the sample into space.
Yeah.
She's like rejected, and then just hits the eject button, and it launches the pod into space.
Quickly followed by Dandy getting frustrated and trying to throw Meow into the scanner again, to which she rejects again and jettisons both of them out to space. Yeah. Which, of course, they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. We don't need logic where we're going.
But yeah, then they pop back to the ship, and, it starts, a Cowboy Bebop trope of there just being no food. That was the constant through all of Bebop, was just like Spike is always starving. And it cuts to him, Dandy being starving on the couch. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I have some ramen saved." Meow was eating that ramen after trying to, coming to the edge of killing Meow by jettisoning him out the top of the ship. Meow promises to find him the best ramen in the universe.
Yeah. All along the way, they have this constant theme of that Admiral, the skeleton thing, the fire skeleton, and Dr. Gel. The recurring theme of like, we've got to go get Dandy. Just okay. It's like Team Rocket is really what it comes down to. It's like, we got to catch Pikachu every episode.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that stood out to me was Dr. Gell's like, yeah, we're trying to find him on Galaxy Street View, and it's just
Yes, I wrote that down too. Yeah. Galaxy Street View. I love it.
they just mention it here, but they actually show it later in the episode, and I'm like, yes, and it's just him clicking between planets and galaxies, just like, oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. What a joke.
The hunt is on for the ultimate ramen shop, which, of course, if you want information, there's one place in the galaxy
There's
to go
only
to.
one place. There's
Back to
absolutely, and
boobies.
where is that, Nordy?
That is back to boobies.
It's an important theme.
Yeah, and both Meow and Dandy are enjoying all the waitresses, and QT comes up, is like, what are we doing here? And they're like, gathering information, and like Dandy asks the nearest waitress, like, where's the best, do you know where the best galaxy is in the universe? And she's like, oh yeah, it's over here. And Dandy and Meow are just like, what?
So did you notice? So the waitress, her name is Honey,
Okay.
and she's the same waitress they meet in the other boobies. So because this is a chain, they don't necessarily, they don't say this specifically, but because it's a chain, they're constantly going to boobies, but they're all the different locations are kind of wherever they are. So it's a different location whenever they pop in.
Right.
But the recurring character here in true Pokemon fashion is Honey,
Right.
who is always at these locations. So she was in the first location. Here she is again in the second location, offering information on, yeah, of course I know where the best ramen is.
Yeah.
Okay, so they introduce this character, Honey, and they're talking to him, whatever, fan service, boobies, etc., etc. Then they mentioned a place called Space Ramen Station, or Raste, in the Noodle Galaxy. Of course, because why wouldn't there be?
Exactly.
And that they say, okay, that's definitely where we need to go, and off they go to what can only be described as a giant space station food court
Right.
mall.
That's all ramen.
Nothing but it's all ramen shops.
Yeah.
Every different type of ramen, all the alien types, and this is where they start going from shop to shop. And oh man, if I remember, I'll put some images up of the different ramen on the screen. But yeah, it's some chaos.
Then in the middle of the chaos, Meow is like posting to his like space Instagram or space Twitter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which I'm not the one saying space on this. Like everything they say in the show is space this, space that, space this, space that, as if they need to clarify that it's for space.
Yes.
So, which as they're trying the different ramen shops, it cuts back to Gorilla Guy trying to find Dandy on, Google Street View or whatever it is. God damn it. Now I forgot.
Galaxy Street View.
There you go. Thank you. And his assistant comes up and he's like, oh, we found Dandy's location. And they're like, how'd you do that? And he's like, here's this Instagram feed of like every single picture. To which they then fly out the entire fleet to go capture Space Dandy for still not clear reasons as to why they're after him. But the fleet is out to go get him.
If they ever offer clarity to that reason, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Just want to go through every episode. Just it was never answered.
Exactly.
So and they're in one of the ramen shops, and they realize, oh shit, we have no money, and they just kind of have to pan over, and they see this red-haired woman over on the side, looking familiar, and it turns out it's the alien registration center worker.
Yeah, the one who says rejected for every single alien that they bring in.
Yes. And so Dandy goes over to flirt with her in true Dandy fashion. Still not really sure that he knows who she is, but he definitely knows that she's familiar. So he goes over and flirts in the dandiest way he can think of.
Yeah.
And then takes a pause while she looks at him and says, "Can I have some money?"
Yeah.
Which is, and that's when that's when the Gogol army bombards the restaurant and comes in. They're like, Dandy, we're going to get you. And everything goes crazy. But somehow along the way, Scarlet's ramen gets knocked down.
Then she enters the fray.
She does, in true anime trope fashion. You've pissed off a side character for an innocuous reason. And, now it's time for her to kick some ass.
Yeah.
And she does.
Yeah. She then decimates the entire squad through her mastery of martial arts. And after taking out the last of the soldiers, she's just like, "My name is Scarlet. Remember that," and then runs off.
Yes. She's a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Scarlet. Ah! We'll see if I keep that in.
No, please don't.
Okay. So she kicks everyone, all the Golgo army's ass, and they basically run away. I mean, everyone else kind of gets away, and they pan over to them eating more ramen at the next shop as if
Yeah,
nothing had
exactly.
happened.
To which, thanks to the Instagram post, the army finds them again.
Yes.
They go to the next shop. Army finds them again. Army finds them again. And each time they're running away, Dandy's like, "How are they finding us?" And Meow is like, "Must be a coincidence." And they just like say it faster and faster, like, "How are they finding us?" "Oh, must be a coincidence." Finally, they run out of the station, back to the ship, and Dandy looks over at Meow, who's like still on his phone. He's like, "What are you doing on there anyway?" He's like, "Oh yeah, well, you gotta follow me online if you want to find out what I'm doing." And this is where like Dandy comes through to figure out what's actually going on rather than, the robot QT figuring it out, which you'd normally expect in these kind of shows. Just like, "You motherfucker," it's like, "You were posting our location this whole time," and just like throws the phone out of the ship, which then helps them finally get away from the fleet. And the gorilla guy is just staring at the phone floating in space and just like, "Dandy, we'll get you next time."
And then back to ramen.
Yeah.
Where they find a shop that has just a mess of a ramen bowl.
Oh yeah,
Meow
it's like
takes
3 feet high.
Yeah. And Meow takes one bite and says, "This is the one. This is the one I've been looking for." And they see that it's coming through some mysterious microwave wormhole something or other. And Dandy immediately says, "We go," and he knocks over the entire. He just completely destroys the restaurant. He could have walked over, but no, he jumps on the table, destroys the restaurant, knocks over everything there is to it, and Meow and Dandy jump into this mysterious wormhole out of the wall.
Where the ramen comes from.
Where the ramen is coming from. And they end up in like some middle of the galaxy nowhere land where on some floating meteor, and there just happens to be some Japanese ramen shop like hut sitting off on the side there. And then
like the traditional ramen shop that is in the middle of the city, and it's kind of like something like, pulled from like Gintama or Naruto, where you have the old ramen guy that makes his ramen traditionally. And in this case, the wise old man is a weird looking alien that is able to breathe fire. And he just tells his whole life story of how he got there. He says he's been there for 10,000 years.
Yeah. He was like 10,000 years old, or he's been there for 10,000 years old, that they say.
Exactly. And he makes the best ramen that Dandy has ever tasted.
Yeah. And Dandy goes, "Well, why are you here?" And this is where the anime kind of takes a weird turn. Like it's been nothing but comic relief for like, an episode and a half, and then it goes very super somber, and it tells like this. I mean, it's still got tropey, silly reasons, but
it's got very silly reasons. Like,
but the music,
sad.
the music kicks in, and it's just super sad, and the storyline is everything like, I had to be on the run because I've an accidental murder, which we won't spoil it there, but everything else is just because he's trying to run away, and he ends up on Earth, and this ramen shop on Earth brings him inside and gives him the tastiest meal he's ever had. And so he learns how to make this recipe just like it was on Earth, and then opens up this shop in the middle of nowhere just to, I guess, pay the universe forward. And it's just such a tone shift for the anime, but they do it with like so many nods of like silliness and ridiculousness.
Exactly.
That they stay true to themselves.
And as they're enjoying, as Dandy's enjoying the ramen, QT messages him and says like, "Hey, this wormhole is closing. You have to get back here now."
We gotta get the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he just like gulps down his ramen bowl, and at the same time, the ramen bowl is handed to Meow, who's about to take a bite, but Dandy's like, "We have to go right now. We can't wait for you to eat your food." Which of course spills the ramen, goes back through the wormhole, and then just
And then there's also the whole thing just ends with them like, well, that was some good ramen.
yeah, exactly.
And Meow is just angry look at Dandy.
Yeah.
And then
Dandy sees it and just laughs at him. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Endless
like the whole
nonsense.
episode was just like, what was the point?
Yeah.
No, you're again, don't overanalyze it. Just accept it for what it is.
Exactly.
Oh man. And in true Dandy fashion, that episode just cuts off, and then I didn't watch the credits. Was there anything special in the credits in this one?
No. I'm guessing it was just like that first one since they all died.
Oh, okay.
To like have everyone die, and then there's okay, next time. I'm like, wait, what?
Got it. Okay, so that brings us to episode 3, what I have aptly named as the fan service episode. If you make it through episode 3, well, if you've made it through episode 1 and episode 2, you're probably going to continue watching. But
Exactly.
if you make it through episode 3, you will probably finish the series.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So they're broke again. The trope of we're broke, we don't have anything to eat. QT comes in, says, "I've got food." Serves them some mysterious spoiled cereal from light years away.
10,000 light years away.
10,000 light years away.
Yeah.
Immediately makes Meow sick. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? We have to eat. And Dandy says, "Don't worry, guys. I've got a fully punched out punch card for boobies."
Yeah, exactly. I do wonder if this is going to be a recurring theme of like every single episode is either at boobies at some point during the show or an attempt to go to boobies.
Yes. I'd be disappointed if it wasn't. I mean, they've already they set that tone pretty hard in episode 1. They're like, don't expect anything less than this.
Yeah, exactly. We spent most of our animation budget on aliens at boobies. So.
That's right. So they look at the punch card and they're like, okay, well, we have a plan. And then they say, oh shit, it's going to expire in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We're going to have to use the warp drive again. And we already know what happened last time. They ended up who knows where. And so impatiently smashes the warp button a bunch of times and they end up in some middle of the universe, nowhere land. And, cue the token Gogol Empire chasing Dandy scene.
Yeah, exactly.
And the trope of, well, I can't believe they got away again.
Yeah.
And they go through the time warp and they end up in some random planet, right?
Oh, and this time they end up like crash landing on the planet.
Yes.
So now it's double trouble. They don't know where they are and they're crashed.
And they're on a clock.
Yeah, and they're on the clock.
Boobies.
So Dandy's mission is to get out there and see if there's a boobies on that planet. And Meow was like, why don't we send a distress signal and see if somebody will rescue us? And they're like, no. We gotta check this planet for boobies.
Yeah, so they wander away from their ship with no real plan except a hope and a dream.
Right.
And they kind of wander for a bit, and then they see this woman enter fan service, being chased by aliens, running away, jiggle physics in full motion.
Yes.
And he sees her and says, "We need to help."
Yeah.
And then
I'll save you.
I'll save you. So he runs up to her and grabs her head, and it's like they're just being chased by aliens, and there's some attempt to fight back, which okay.
Yeah. Basically pulls out his blaster and drains the battery dry and misses every single shot, even though they're like 80% surrounded by aliens. He somehow manages to shoot the ground, shoot over them, shoot at his allies everywhere but hitting the aliens, and is confused as to how the aliens are impervious to his laser.
happens a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's definitely oblivious to it all. That's for sure. So
absolutely.
so after that fails or succeeds, however you want to look at it,
Exactly.
they say, okay, next plan, let's run and hide. So they run off and they do their best to like find some ruin somewhere. They hide and they determine in all of this moment of silliness that there's another ship out there that she's from.
Yeah, so on her ship, she says that she has parts that they could salvage to fix their
Yeah.
ship so they could all get off the planet together. They then go back to her ship while both Dandy and Meow are like, trying to get her attention. Yeah, trying to be like the favored one. They don't get into it, but they're just like, oh, there's a bunch of those aliens, around the ship. And the girl is like, oh, I know how to get there. And then they just cut to being on the ship. They're
Yes.
just like,
There's a very brief cut scene with the Gogol Empire saying, "We found him," and
yeah,
they send the entire fleet to this planet, and they do a scan of the planet, and there's like a whole like scene basically saying, "Oh, we can't land on that planet. There's like a really scary alien there," and this is where you basically get an explanation for why is there a woman on a mysterious island, and it turns out that she's just some crazy scary alien that eats literally anything.
exactly.
And and even in the flip book where they're going through scary alien lists, like the top 10 don't be eaten by this,
Yeah,
it's not even like her transformed state, it's just her in
yeah,
in like the bikini clad armor or whatever that she's wearing.
exactly.
And so the Gogol Empire runs away, says, "Not this time,"
Yeah,
and
they're like, oh, that was
just
close.
leaves.
Don't want to be eaten by
Yeah,
that.
that was close. Yeah. So they flat. Yeah. So they to your point, they flash to the scene with the alien ship and basically start running around, and the aliens start to attack from outside, and everyone's like, "Run, run, run, run!"
Well, they go out. The aliens are outside the ship, and Dandy goes off to fight him, not realizing that his battery's dead on his gun. And then QT, for some reason, didn't bring up this before, but says this time, like, hey, turn on your translator. Maybe they're trying to talk to
Yeah.
us. And sure enough, the aliens are just like, and these are like, hideous nightmare aliens. They have the whole like alien thing where they open their mouth and then another mouth pops out. But then that mouth that pops out is the one that just like talks calmly at them and is just like, you guys are with a very dangerous alien. You need to get out of here. And another one's like, yeah, why are you shooting at us? We're just trying to warn you. Like, you're crazy.
You know that girl you've been running away from? Maybe don't.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, Meow is like, in the ship with the girl and her stomach's rumbling.
I've never eaten a cat before.
Yeah. And Dandy's like, Meow, we gotta go. And then all of a sudden her chest just starts to pop out. And
This
then
is where I would say the test of fanhood really kicks in. This is the moment in Space Dandy history where they either get canceled from Adult Swim, they gain a fandom for life, or people lose their attention. And she stands there, her chest explodes, and she turns into what can only be described as a giant boob monster.
Yeah,
One
it's
boob after the next, after the next, after the
exactly.
next explodes and appears out of her chest, and then her face warps and giant teeth appear.
Yeah.
And she turns into this giant monster with about 100 floppy boobs hanging off her chest, and you just accept
it is boob kaiju. It is kaiju
It is
of boobs. Yeah.
it is boob kaiju. Yes.
And the first thing it does is just swallows Meow whole. Like that's
Just
that's
plops
that's
them,
the
plops them
intro.
on her tongue and just nom nom nom.
Yeah.
So Meow's gone.
Yeah, Meow's gone. And then they run back to their ship. Dandy and QT run back to the ship as fast as they can, and they're like, okay, the repairs are going to take too long. And Dandy's like, don't worry, we got the escape pod. And like the front of the ship opens and a smaller ship comes out, and
Hawaiian paint and casual.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Hawaii.
This might as
Hawaii
well be a
flower
nod
pattern.
to like like Frankie from One Piece, just like
Absolutely.
if it, yeah,
Yeah,
I think it totally was.
totally.
But
And
yeah,
then-
so they escape on their little ship, and Dandy and QT says, "Well, what about Meow?"
I'll
And
never forget him.
I'll never forget him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then QT says the greatest thing ever. He had the punch card.
Like, he's like, I'll never leave a friend behind. And turns right around.
I love it so much. It's so great. So he true anime fashion. You can't have an anime without a transforming giant robot.
Exactly. Which is in the intro too. They do have a whole mecha section of the intro. And I don't think they showed Dandy's mech, but yeah, he transforms into a mech, which is probably another nod to Frankie because the Hawaiian shirt style is even more highlighted now that it's a robot. And now it's clear that that's a Hawaiian shirt, not just Hawaiian pattern.
I think I'm gonna have to go back. I don't remember what it looks like, but I wonder if the robot has a pompadour.
I'm sure it does.
I
It
bet
kind of has to.
tell us in the comments right now.
Yeah.
just comment pompadour if you've made it this far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he transforms into this monster and starts to I think he yells out Hawaiian Yankee, which may or may not be
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
may
it's
or
like
may
the
not
name
be
of
the
it.
name of the ship. Yeah.
Oh no, it's the name of the fucking mech.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, his ship is the Aloha O. So the Hawaii Yankee is the name of the robot.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So he goes into fight mode in this
Yeah.
robot, and then he starts fighting this giant like boob monster. And yeah, at this point, it's not clear. Like if you didn't see it transform, you wouldn't know. But we know, right? So it's nothing but a giant boob monster.
Right.
So the somehow the cutscenes, dude, the animation on this fighting and the running
yeah.
around and dude, the animation is so good.
Yeah.
It's
It is
so well
top
done.
notch. Top
It's
notch.
fantastic, dude. There was a sound effect that they used during one of the scenes that was just perfect. It was just like one of those big warpy sounds where it's just like and it's just a big crash. It was fantastic. Yeah, so the fight goes on for a little while, obviously in true Dandy fashion and whatnot, and somehow or another a nod back to the spoiled food that poisoned Meow earlier in the episode accidentally gets swallowed by the giant boo monster. And
The boob monster has a similar reaction of just like choking on it. And
Yeah.
thankfully, QT took advantage of the bonus offer with the 10,000-year-old space food of buy one, get 365 free.
Yes, the math checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't pass up that deal.
No. So they have a storage in their ship full of this stuff, these
Yep.
cereal boxes. Dandy puts them up on a giant platter and then just shoves it down the boob monster's mouth, the big teeth and everything.
Yeah,
And
which turns to suds somehow. Just boils
like a
out into
giant
bubbles.
snail,
Yeah.
just foaming, just bubbling.
Yeah.
And then they do some kind of crazy animation to cut it out, and I obviously you could make some assumption that they won the fight, right? Because the next scene is an obvious nod to the win when they flash to the alien registration center, and you see Scarlet there again,
Yeah. Just like normal,
And-
like nothing ever happened.
like nothing happened, and they've got this giant boo monster, which is not giant anymore. It's like, maybe a couple feet big in a jar or giant glass tube.
Exactly. And they actually pass, and she says accepted instead of rejected.
Accepted. Yeah.
And they get paid for the first time on the show.
So here's where I'll mention the nod to Cowboy Bebop in the universe. Do you know what they got paid in?
Woolongs.
Woolongs,
Yeah.
which is the currency of Cowboy Bebop.
That's so crazy.
It's so funny.
That's
It's a fantastic nod to
Yeah.
knowing
love
that
it.
the creator just kind of puts things in the same universe is great.
That's awesome.
So they got paid, and what do you think he wants to use the money for?
Well, he is very sad that he lost his punch card, but he is happy that the Woolongs he got will definitely pay for his next trip to Boobies.
Well, yeah, of course.
Which
Of course.
QT then brings up like, hey, aren't we forgetting someone? And they don't discuss at all what happened to Meow.
No,
Like,
it just end.
Yeah.
The end.
It's just Dandy and QT sitting there holding the big wad of cash, and they're like, all right, well, next episode we're going to Boobies, and like no mention of Meow whatsoever. It's like, again, like you said, don't overthink it. But then if in the process, like Meow had the card, which was swallowed by, the monster, so wouldn't that mean Meow died with the monster, and with the punch card?
You're doing it again.
Yeah.
You're doing it again. We've talked about this 6 times already on this episode.
I love it, and then the continuity, again, it's like the thumbnail for the next episode shows Meow right away. So it's like, there is no continuity whatsoever. I love it.
Yeah, I would say that pretty much sums up this show.
Yeah, it's a glorious mix of randomness, but then there's this like amazing spectacle of top-notch animation, great music. It's like when the monster was coming out, they had like really tense, creepy music that like, here comes this fucking horror movie monster coming at you that's just boobs and teeth.
And sound effects are kicking in, and all the top tier anime you would expect to see, like just crazy
like from Cowboy
sound
Bebop,
and explosions and everything. Yeah, they put their time into this one for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely a passion project that was well funded. They nailed it. Lots of nods to lots of shows. Just fantastic.
So we always sort of wrap into our final thoughts here with a bunch of different stuff. And one of the things I think might be obvious, and we do this a lot, but will we be continuing the story?
Oh, absolutely.
I would agree with that. I don't think that any chance in the world where I don't wrap up this series to the end. It's been so refreshing to see such high quality in an anime, especially just a non-serious one, right?
Absolutely. That's the magic of it.
Highly recommend it.
And it's 26 episodes too, so it'll keep you going.
Excellent. So since we're both planning to watch this, I would say obviously it's got a quality rating here.
Oh yeah.
What do you have something written down here to offer some final thoughts and a rating?
Yeah, I mean, my final thoughts, this falls under my heavy recommendation category. Not for new people to anime, not for it's recommendation
not an introductory anime.
Yeah.
Not one to recommend to friends on as a trial run.
Yeah, have them watch Cowboy Bebop first, and maybe a couple others. But then after that, you can go ahead and throw this in there.
There you go.
I would say my rating for this one, which I thought of, quite a lot actually, is 2 lifetime passes to Boobies.
2 lifetime passes to Boobies. It's fantastic. I mean, honestly, my rating is pretty much on par with that. I don't think I have one that will dispute it any other way than saying yes. 2 out of 2 Boobies for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, everybody. Well, appreciate you hanging in there. If you've made it this far, we would appreciate a like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things. And as always,
freaking watch more anime, man, because you never know how much of a dandy you'll find out there, and it may even take you to space.
That's right. All right, everybody.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.